Am I live? I always have to wait till I think I'm live. I think I'm getting there. Guess what? I am alive on Juneteenth. Welcome. My name is Lace Watkins. I'm the executive director of the Lace on Race Center for Racial Equity, and we are here commemorating and remembering and honoring Juneteenth. As usual, we don't do it the usual way. We do it in Lace on Race fashion. So, yes, I am going to be going to what's called the Soul Swap Meet here in San Diego and doing a Lace on Race live in about an hour or an hour and a half. I am also going to be writing an article specifically about Juneteenth and both the promise of Juneteenth, what it means for the country to celebrate Juneteenth in a unified way, both the benefits and the potential pitfalls of making this a national holiday. I've got a lot of thoughts. You're going to want to read it. And I'm probably going to do a video about it too. But for now, I want to talk to you about ways that we can stand in solidarity here at Lace on Race as a community. There have been people who have been wondering, what can we do? And there have been a lot of ways that people could commemorate the day. Note that I'm not saying celebrate. Note that I'm not saying have fun. This is a day of reflection and commemoration. And while there will be things that will be engaging, hopefully in your city, hopefully that you can participate in, I hope that we are doing it with mindful and somewhat somber hearts. Even as we celebrate that day in 1865 in Galveston, Texas, when the last of the formerly enslaved cohort found out that they had actually been free for a couple of years, we still need to think about the fact that they had not been free for 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. And the fact that what happened in 1863, and then again in 1865, and then again in 1954, Brown versus Board, and then again in 1964, the Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act in 1965, Fair Housing Act in 1969 has made for, at best, an intermittent and incomplete freedom for African Americans in this country. For those of us who are the descendants of the unlawfully enslaved, this is a big day for us. Yeah, celebrate. But for those of you who are not part of that cohort, yes, I think it is absolutely crucial that this day be marked, and it be marked with skin in the game. Is it appropriate to just make this yet another day when you go to Walmart, buy 40 hot dogs, and fire up the grill? Probably not. Is it a day to rock that dashiki you bought in 1978 to prove your solidarity? Well, that's up to you. Take it out of mothballs. But that is not how perhaps we can best celebrate and commemorate Juneteenth as a cohort in Lace on Race. That is a very big deal. We have partnered with Shay, and you'll see two posts in the Facebook feed, and I invite you to go find them and engage on her page, and then come back and mark done. You don't have to say done on her page. You don't have to have her say thank you. You don't have to have recognition. You do it because it's the right thing to do. Her position is that those of you who are not the descendants of formerly enslaved perhaps um, should be using the money that some of you gleaned from making Juneteenth a federal holiday and direct those funds to people and individuals and organizations that are doing the work. And even if they're not doing the work, it is absolutely fair that the people who are the descendants of those who suffer and who suffer still should most enjoy the spoils. Here's the thing about Juneteenth, though, as a federal holiday. For one thing, it was so off the cuff. Not a lot of people had a chance to really get on the ball and do Juneteenth. And most of those people are people with the lower end of the income distribution, like retail, like some other offices. So while some people were able to take Juneteenth off, disproportionately white, Other people were not able to. And we need to look hard at that disparity and who this day actually benefited yesterday when it was a federal holiday. And we also need to remember, and I'm giving away my essay, but we also need to remember that even as we are making this gesture as a country, there are other more meaningful choices that the country has chosen not to make. Yes, I'm talking about reparations. Yes, I'm talking about a full accounting of from 1619 up to 2021. That has yet to happen. Juneteenth is a memorable day. Juneteenth is an important day. Juneteenth by itself is incomplete and woefully inadequate. It will not make up for the disparities and the oppression and the subjugation of an entire cohort of people living in this country in the here and now. Taking something meaningful and turning it into a meaningless performative gesture is part of the playbook of white supremacy. And whether or not we choose to look at it that way, it's going to have everything we do with whether or not we actually make it mean something. Making meaning at times like this is so important. So on the Lace on Race page, you will see those two posts. I invite you, I exhort you to not just go and click through, but to read the comments, read the commentary that both Alicia Rooks and Shay had, and confront that. I affirm both of them. Later on, when I do my own essay, make it a point to read that, and also make it a point to financially engage. I, as executive director, have made two very risky choices. The first one is that even though today technically should be the mid-month ask, I am postponing that ask to divert as much funds as possible to the women that Shay is standing with. Whether or not she made her goal, and she technically did, but there are always other women. She set a low goal because she knows usually white people don't show up. So you set a low goal and you hope you make the low goal. But what if we bombarded her? What if she asks for $1 and we give her $100? What if we do more than it's expected and we say less than we could? Because that's the way we do it at Lace on Race. I will be doing an ask. We are not at goal. This is a huge risk on our part. For me to basically say, take your funds, divert them here, and we'll just hope that people show up for us. These last 7 months, that hasn't happened, but this is Juneteenth, and our praxis demands that we commemorate this day. So I'm going to ask you for a few things. I'm going to ask you to engage now, and not just engage financially, engage with the text, engage with the comments. When I write my essay, engage with that. You're going to have a little bit of fun at the Soul Swap meet. I'm going to go and do this. It's going to be great. But there is still a somberness at the heart of this. I was born in a segregated hospital, more like a clinic. It burned down in 1963, 10 days before the March on Washington. A year later, there was the Civil Rights Act. A year later after that, the Voting Rights Act. That came 100 years after Juneteenth. Again, this country is nowhere close to creating the world that the Emancipation Proclamation was supposed to make, and that Juneteenth was supposed to buttress and acknowledge, finally, that 1954 Brown v. Board was supposed to buttress, that the 1964 and 65 Civil Rights Act was supposed to take care of. Well, 57 years later, here we are. We have been talking a lot about the Black Spring of last year and how even Lace on Race got national attention and everybody came. Probably some of you who are lurking, you came because of the Black Spring and because of those lists. This is where it matters. It's not enough to just click the follow button and then forget about it. because Black oppression has occurred every single day since 1619. It has not let up. And so we can do the performative federal gesture, but we can make meaning over and above that. And that's exactly what we should be doing. Here at Lace on Race, that's what we do. We will take this performative gesture and subvert it and make it mean something. And what it's going to mean is something that seems superficial. But just like the Lace on Race Mental and Emotional Health Fund, which we still fund, even though this community has not fully supported Lace on Race since November, we keep our promises to our community partners and we keep our promises to the Mental and Emotional Health Fund, even though that seems like a one-time superficial gesture. Oh, giving someone a spa day, who cares? Well, for women who live under the boot and the heel of misogynoir, it means a lot. And in Shay's case, making sure that a family has dinner to commemorate when their ancestors were acknowledged to be free, that matters too. Here's something else you're going to be able to do for me. And I will have a quiet expectation of that. For those of you who want to give money to me directly, no, no. I am fortunate enough that I can say, while that is a great gesture, I'm one of the usual suspects at this point. It's easy to give a semi-public figure cash and think you did something. No, I want you to do it to someone anonymous. I want you to do it for someone whose face you don't see and you'll never see, and they'll never be able to thank you directly. That's how we roll. We do the work. And we don't need nutter butters for it. And we don't need acknowledgement or validation for it. And we don't need to hitch our wagon to a celebrity or even a Z-list public figure like myself. That's easy to do. And I'm asking you to take it forward. If you want to support me, support this organization in ways that 9,800 of you don't currently. So when I do the ask, tomorrow or Monday, don't roll your eyes. Don't scroll and roll. If you see it as a sponsored post, because that's the only way we get page views, don't get mad at us and don't punish us. That's also part of the dynamic that we've been talking about since 1619, 1863, 1865, 1964, 1965, 1969. That we are punished when we self-advocate, that we are punished when we ask people to partner with us in tangible and real and authentic and durable and reliable ways. If white people had been doing those things, there would be no need for Lace on Race, and I would be planting marigolds or actually putting up my door. Still don't have a door, but I'm going to finish painting tonight and then I'll have a door. But I don't want you to punish me for asking. When you see it, and you might see it more than once, click through. Allow us to continue serving you so that we can serve others, so that we can serve Shay and everybody else. This Juneteenth will only have meaning to the extent that next year is this much better for Black and brown people currently harmed by white people and white supremacy. This much closer to our North Star. And you do not have to have your name in lights on that North Star. You do it with humility. You do it with gratitude. You do it with grace. You do it. So do it today. And when I do the ask, and I will, support the community you have come to trust and engage with. That's how it's done. Otherwise, Juneteenth doesn't mean a damn thing. This is the work. This is how we do. Start doing it. I love you hard. I have felt the presence and the weight of my ancestors surrounding me in this kitchen. I have felt the weight of being born in a segregated clinic in South Central Arkansas. And here I am talking to you about issues that were still extant when I was born in 1963. If you want me, if you want us to stop bombarding you with the fact that it is still a dream deferred, the onus is on you to make that dream happen. You can't do it all, but you can do something. God grant me the strength to accept the things I can change. And you can change this performative, meaningless iteration of Juneteenth and give it meaning, give it heart, give it hesed. So go click through, come back. Remember that you're part of this community and that this community is founded on hesed and taking care of each other and taking care of outside. That doesn't change, and it won't change. I love you hard.